and hit record. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And hopefully that is both recording and sharing at the same time this time. Turn on my chat screen. Let me turn off the sound of my phone. That's annoying and distracting. So here we go. Again, I'll just really quickly refresh your memories. The part of the demonstration that did get recorded yesterday is up on YouTube and posted here, as well as the lecture slides that weren't recorded for some reason. But you know, that thing is actually posted as a PDF for you to look at if you want. And again, it was just sort of the good, the bad, and the ugly. There was certain things that I would do and wouldn't do, as demonstrated in both the presentation and the material in the presentation. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to look at, well, again, we'll just talk about guides really quickly: grid ordering system, master slide, placing image assets, and linking things up. Look at the size and resolution one more time. But then we'll talk about character styles and looking at typeface and things like that. We'll place text directly from Word into InDesign, and that way you can use the best of both. Word is really great at like typing things and spell checking and getting that kind of stuff done. And so honestly, you don't have to like sort of type out your paper or your description for your projects or anything like that in InDesign. You could actually just place it in Word just like any other graphic asset, like an image. You can do the same thing with the text. So, and then we'll talk about exporting as a PDF and some of the settings involved with that, as well as packaging your InDesign file and getting all your links in the right place so that you don't have a bunch of broken links later on in the future if you move things around and clear off your desktop or rearrange your documents folder and things like that. Okay. Again, as a reminder, what's due by the end of the day tomorrow, Thursday, at the end of the day. So Friday, I can just grade everything, all my studio stuff, all my DCM stuff, all of this stuff for digital media. There's at least a 4-page long portfolio where you've just gone through the motions. You started to lay something out. You've created a template to follow with a clear ordering system, grid ordering system, and a clear strategy for how to populate things, and then you populate it with some of your work. And you can take this as a chance to sort of test out and create a template for, again, a portfolio if you don't have one yet anyway. So, and that's the goal here. I know we have some folks that are already in upper division or have already been accepted to upper division, and that's fine. So just make sure that if you submit an earlier portfolio that it just look through this, humor me, and make sure that it sort of meets the guidelines and criteria here. If you need to adjust a few quick things, then go for it. But you can always just submit that if you need to. Just as again, to show an outcome that, hey, I know InDesign and I know enough graphic design that I can, lay things out nicely and neatly, clearly. All right, so with all that said, I'll go ahead and open up InDesign. I'm going to open up an existing file, and I'll also create a new file. So in this case, I'm going to open up portfolioexample.indd. All right, here we have an example really quickly where I've already laid out some guides just as a demonstration. Again, this maybe without some of the images is already loaded as a template file or as an InDesign file. The InDesign file is already, this version of it, or a different version of it is actually available for download here, right? So just wanted to make sure that you knew that was available. I'm also going to say new, file, new, document, right? So in this case, whenever I'm starting a new InDesign file, I'm going to go file, new, and document, okay? Just like you see here with my cursor. Go ahead and click. It's going to give me a couple of settings here, like the size of the document, which I'm going to say is inches. I'll go ahead and just leave it as 8.5 by 11, portrait oriented, and then portrait orientation, and then facing pages I'll just leave checked on. So I'm just going to hit create. Here it is. Okay. So this is what you'll see when you first start a new file. Okay, I'll just go ahead and zoom out. And again, just as a more refresher from yesterday, you have these panels over here. So you can click and drag out, let's say, the pages panel. That's a really important one. This shows you all the pages. It also shows you the masters. So if I go down here and click, I can add more pages. I can also delete pages, right? I can select, let's say, this one and delete, right? If I don't need it, I can add more. You can see that they're numbered here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? After the cover page, after I start adding pages there, because I said the facing pages setting, what you see is 2 facing pages as a spread, right, for each time, each spread here. All right, so, and you can see the gutter for the binding, right, if this was actually a book. Let's see. Oh, the other thing I was going to say, guides. And so really, again, just like any other Photoshop or Illustrator or anything else made by Adobe, if you don't see a particular panel over here on the right-hand side, you can go to the Windows pull down, and you can find it in here and toggle it on. Okay. If you don't see rulers along the top and the left, then you go to the View pull down, and you can always hide or show rulers, right? That's same thing in Illustrator, same thing in Photoshop. And so I can say hide rulers. If they're not on, I can say show rulers. But what I really want to do is make sure that I have rulers here on, and I can click and drag from a ruler and then begin to place. I don't know why it's not letting me. And place guides, right? So I can begin to actually create a grid of guidelines on my page. And it's easier to snap to these guidelines once they're put on, right? The nice thing about these is that these guides don't ever show up. They don't print or anything like that. They don't show up in the PDF. They're just a visual guide for you to see as you're laying things out. Same with these margins, right? One thing that we did yesterday is we adjusted the margin spacing. So for instance, the margins are set to 1/2 inch offset from each edge. If I'm going to change that, I can go to layout, margins and columns. If you follow my cursor right now, margins and columns. And I can then change the margins. I'd say 0.25 in this case for it, okay? Now you can see that they've changed all the way around to 1/4 inch, all the way around, right? Right now I'm working in one of the pages, okay? And again, I can, these guides show up as cyan. If I move my cursor over and they turn to blue, and I can always select them. They'll look like they're blue when they're selected. And go ahead and delete those. What I can do is actually work within a master page, and then make all my changes there as a template, and then it'll show up for all of these other pages. And so let's say I want to establish a grid that all of my pages follow. I can do that in the master, and then all of my pages will have that grid on it. So I go ahead and double click on the master. Okay, make sure that it's highlighted blue up here in my pages panel. And I'm going to go ahead and do these settings: layout, margins. You go ahead and change the margins to something like 0.25. Okay, you can see it updated there. I'm going to go ahead and click the right-hand part of the spread for the A master group here, and do the same thing: layout, margins and columns. Change the margins to 0.25 inches. There we go, 1/4 inch round. Again, I'm just going to go ahead and click and drag some guides here. I'm going to maybe establish a 1-inch grid or something. I don't know, just for fun. Let's see here. So I'll put this at 1.25, or I'll try to anyway. There we go. And then this will go at 2.25 along the ruler. There we are. Let's see. Maybe I'll skip a few. Let's see, a couple inches. No, actually, no. Let me just do it at every line here. Sorry, being a little too indecisive. Sometimes it's like, do I spend the time dragging all 11 of these lines down in front of you, or do I just try to shortcut things for the sake of efficiency? But maybe just to be clear, I'll just be consistent. It might seem like a bit of time that I'm spending here, but honestly, you do this once really well here, do it the right way, and then you don't have to worry about, fixing a bunch of things over and over and over again later on, right? So a little bit of time investment up front saves you a lot of time later on with little itty bitty things that would be trivial at the end. Okay? So the organization of this stuff's everything, right? Just like in our design disciplines, when we establish, let's say, a structural grid or a land grid, or any other sort of organizational ordering system on the inside for the shell of a building, or on the outside on the landscape, right? The same thing here, right? Our job is to not only compose everything all of these pieces, components, furniture, finishes, materials, plants, all that stuff together, but to do it in an orderly way, to bring order to it. So that's always what we strive to do as professionals here. Just going to go ahead and do this again. Just over here. I mean, I guess I could try to copy and paste these over, but I'm almost halfway through now. It's a little easier to snap exactly what I want to do, B, because I already have the guides on the left-hand side. So it's making it a lot easier to find the exact location that I want here just by dragging and dropping instead of typing a bunch of stuff in. Again, if I want to be very precise here, let's say I want this to be 7.25. I can also just go here and say, okay, Y location would be 7.25 and hit enter, right? Just like we have that transform tools for X, Y position and Illustrator, we have it here in InDesign as well. It's usually along the top there. 8.25, 9.25, 10.25, and I'll be done, thankfully. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm establishing a horizontal grid in inch, let's say 1 inch rows. And then I'm going to, maybe I'll just like start by sort of subdividing in columns in half. So that's 4.25 because this is 8.5 by 11. So 8.5, 4.25, 2.125, so 2 1/8. Oh, well, except let's see, this starts at 0.25, 4.25. So we'll go with 2.25. There we go. That's halfway. This is at 4.25, so we'll go to 6.25. There we are. I can always forget about that margin, right? So maybe I start there with the sort of way to order this stuff. So this is at 8.75, 10.75. So I'll make this a sort of 2 inch grid going in columns here. You don't have to go overkill and make a grid on everything and just keep subdividing until endlessly, but you know, make sure that those lines look different than what you showed yesterday. Yeah, because you get to pick your own grid. Does that make sense? The question from Juan. Look, I mean, I mean, they're still cyan. Is that what you mean? Or are you talking about like, you know, the kind of grid I'm making? Yeah. And then we're just starting to set up a portfolio. Yeah, that's project 5, portfolio. Yeah, that's why we're going over InDesign yesterday and today. Izzy, does that help, Izzy? Sorry, I'm trying to react to questions and talk at the same time. It's not working so well. Yeah, great. Okay, perfect. So in this case, you know, again, really quick refresh. I'll go ahead and start placing some images here. File, pull down, place, right? It brings up something that says, okay, well, what would you like to place? And I'll just go ahead and just pick something here. Oh, this is a project I did with wood veneer. Steam bent it, laser cut it. It's pretty sick. I'm going to hold down my shift key and I'm going to go ahead and resize the frame around this image. All that did is resize the outside frame around the image. It didn't actually scale the image inside. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on it now and say fitting, and then say fit content to frame. Okay. All right, there we go. And you know, the one other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to crop it right here. Maybe that's my rule. I'm going to have a 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 by 5 sort of large banner image for the start of every project I start with, or something like that. And that way I have a sort of datum moving across roughly, not quite the middle of my thing, but in the sort of close to the center of my document. All right. Once more, once I select this, I can look at its properties. So remember, I've basically linked this image into the document, and so it remembers where it's actually saved on my hard drive. It also looks at the size. So right now, the actual PPI is 300 DPI for this image. It was a good size image. Here are the dimensions. I've scaled it down a bit, and so the effective PPI is now 376. So I've scaled things down a bit, and so it has actually more pixels per inch now, more information than it needs for the 300 DPI limit that you always are sort of shooting for when it comes to things that you're going to print. All right, so I'm good there, but you can always look at that in the links panel. Okay, that has this sort of like chain link icon. That's the links panel. Okay. So now let's talk about text. I think that's really important. And first of all, I'm just going to make some text. I'm just going to use the text tool over here. I'm over here on the left-hand side with the toolbar. Here's my cursor tools, and I have like scale tools and things like that. I can make rectangles and shapes like Illustrator and lines. I can also make type. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag and make a type box. And I'm just going to type in title for projects, maybe a colon, and then maybe some sort of subtitle like summer 2020. I don't know, whatever. Okay, maybe that's a location or a date or something like that that begins to talk about when the project happened or where it happened or whatever. All right, so by default, I think it's picked some weird font on me here. So I'm just going to go over here to character. Okay, again, I can go back and forth. Panels over here, tools over here. So there's a character panel. I can look and see what font this is. I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in on this a little more so you can see a little better on your screens. Okay, so I picked something like Minion Pro, which I'm not even sure what that is, but it sounds kind of dumb to me. I'm just going to pick like something simple, Helvetica or Arial, something really nice and simple, something that's not going to detract from the work itself. I'm going to beef this up since this is a title. I don't mind if it's nice and big. I'm maybe bold it in this case. And you know what? I'm going to take this. I'm going to try to move it down so that it's always sort of bottom justified to this guide here. So what I'm going to do is what am I going to do? I'm going to fit the frame to the content, right? So what that's going to do is it's going to shrink the frame to fit around the content perfectly. And so now I can sort of line the bottom of this up with the guide that I want. Okay. Now there's one more thing that I was just thinking about, and that is I'm still working in the master. So look at what happens, right? The masters are actually applied to my pages. So anything I do in the master is going to be showing up on each page. Okay. So that's an easy mistake to make, and it's kind of embarrassing that I made it in front of you. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this image that I've plugged in and this title, and I'm just going to cut and paste instead of copy and paste. So I'm going to hit Control X to cut it, and I'm going to go to page 2, and I'm just going to say paste. Okay, and now I can paste it into just this page instead of having it on the master. Okay, that's embarrassing. Let's see, what typeface did I pick for this? Arial. I'll switch that to Helvetica. Now, once I picked a different typeface, it's what this is telling me is that this window is too small for my font. I'm just going to go ahead and resize it a bit. Okay, and look, I can just say fitting, or right-click, fit, frame to content again, and there. Okay. There's ways to make placeholder text in your master, and that way, then it's like a sort of a field in here. You can just type in the text, but for now, I'm just going to try to stick to something really simple here. Okay. What I'm going to do next, let's say I like this. I want this for all my titles for, let's say, every first page of each project in my portfolio. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and select this box, and I'm going to go to Character Styles, Character Styles panel. Okay. Again, if you don't see it, it looks like this. It has like a sort of A for the text, and it has a little like set of boxes here. Okay. If you don't see it, go to the Windows pull down, and if you go to, let's see, Styles, Character Styles, you can toggle Character Styles on. Okay. So if you don't see this panel over here, go to the Windows pull down. Go to Styles, Character Styles. You can toggle it on. It might pop out, out here. If so, and you want to drag it on, you can dock it over here. So you can just see it as an icon and toggle it on and off by clicking on it. Okay. Well, once I have this selected, I can go ahead and hit New Character Style. Okay. And I've created this. I'm going to say, you can see its settings, right? It's like, it's going to be Helvetica. It's going to be bold. It's going to be size 24 point. Okay. And then I can give it a name, like in this case, titles. All right. So that's how you make a character style, okay? Let's say for this next spread, I'm gonna have, let's see, I've already typed the name. It's, you know, I'll give it something generic. Project 02 from fall. I'll give it some stupid title here, right? All right, here we go. All right, so now I can select this and I can say, I wanna make this the title case. Okay, let's say this was different. Sorry, I guess I've already set it to be Helvetica and blah, blah, blah. Let me just change the settings here. Let's say it took me back to Minion Pro or some other font. And some other size, and it's not bolded, right? In other words, I can go through after the fact and go ahead and select this, go to my character styles and make it that title character style, okay? So one thing I did is I made this all uppercase. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this part, right? And what you can actually do is you can, let's go to titles. I should have done this before. One thing you can do is you can actually say, take this and say type, and you can actually change its case, right? So you can actually make it all uppercase. But I want to do that here for my title style. So I'm going to double click on my title character style, and I'm just going to go through the settings here. You can see I can always adjust these down. So let's say 24 proves to be too big. I can always adjust these 18. And now everything that's been set to this character style will adjust accordingly once I hit OK. Okay. So this is what's really nice. It's sort of like making a sort of rule for all of your titles, making a rule for all of your body text, for all of your captions, etc. Let's see, advanced character formats, underline options, strike through options. Let's see, basic character format, strike through position, case. Here we go. So make it all capitals. All right, there we go. Now suddenly this turned to from, you know, sort of a, you know, a set of lowercase to uppercase, right? Just by simply changing it here, okay? It's the same thing with text. Let's say body text, right? What I can do, let's say I have some descriptive text for, let's say, for my project, like a brief description, okay? So first of all, let's see, I'm just going to quickly type some stuff out here. One way I'm going to do that really quickly is I can just make some placeholder text, which is helpful to do when you're making a template. So if I go to type and I go, let's see, insert, let's see, fill with placeholder text, right? What I'll do is it'll give me like this InDesign Latin gibberish. It's just sort of place things with placeholder text that I can then begin to adjust here. So I'm going to go back to my character box. Maybe I'll leave this as Helvetica for right now. It's definitely not going to be bold. We'll go with the regular for a minute. It's definitely not going to be all uppercase. So I'll change that in just a moment. But I'm just going to change the size of this down to something much more easily seen, like 10. Okay, that's a much more appropriate font size. And then go to type. I can go to, let's say, change case and make sure it's set to sentence case. And that didn't work. How strange. That's weird. Let's see. Oh, because it's set to titles. I'm going to say none. Okay. Yeesh. All right. So it was set to character style, the titles character style. So I just set it to no character style for the moment. I'm going to change this stuff, and then I'm going to make a new character style for, let's say, body text. Okay. Okay. So I have to go. Unfortunately, I have to go back here and actually change this back to, let's say, Helvetica. You can use a serif font here. There's nothing wrong with like a Times New Roman, particularly when it comes to body text. Actually, you know, people do. Who study like typefaces and things like that and legibility, they actually say that oftentimes some of the typical serifed typefaces are actually easier to read when it comes to like paragraph format. So But nevertheless, I'm just going to pick Helvetica and pick like 10 or 9 even. I don't worry about like going small here. Okay, I'll go ahead and refill with, let's see if I can refill with more placeholder text. There we are. Yeah. Et tu, Brutus? All right. So really quickly, now that I have, let's say, another character style, I want to make that. I'm going to go ahead and select this box. I'm going to go ahead and say plus. I have another character style now that's new. And you can see that the settings are Helvetica, regular, size 9 point. I'm going to go ahead and change that to, let's say, body text or something like that. Always important to label these so you know what they are. Okay. All right. Now, one other thing I want to show when it comes to type and text, okay, is first of all, we're going to start creating more text boxes and then starting to link them up so that when something, I have more text in what will fit in this box, then it will wrap to the next text box, the next text box, the next column of text, etc. But before I do that, I'm going to actually show you how to place text. So I'm just going to find a Word document, and also I go to File, Place, just like if I was placing an image. Now let's go to Documents, maybe our desktop, maybe, I don't know. Let's see, try to find a Word document, which sadly is, I don't get to like make cool stuff. I have to like craft Word documents these days. It seems like more and more. Let's see, kind. All right, that would help. Now I can find Word documents more than I could shake a stick at. Let's see. Here, I'll just pick somebody's writing here. So now what you see is just like an image. I can click and place this inside of this box. All right, so I have a few things to do here, right? First of all, I think I have, here's Katie's brief intro for a book I'm in the middle of editing, but I'll go ahead and select this. I'll turn it to body text, right? Now you see this red plus sign. That means that actually I have more text than what will fit in this box, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create another text box. I'll go ahead and make it similar size, right? All right. And so I can go ahead and click this plus, okay? And now it's telling me, okay, you have more text you can place. You want to link the end of this text box with the beginning of this text box. I'm going to click in here, right? And now what doesn't fit in this text box will wrap and continue in this text box, okay? And so that's how you can begin to, A, write things out in Word, make sure everything's spell checked, make sure you don't have any typos. Then you can place it into InDesign, and then you can begin to sort of develop your template further in InDesign, right? So let's say, actually, you know, this text box is only going to go from here to here. And if I have more, then it'll go on to another text box over here. Okay. All right. Okay, and so again, what I did there, you know, again, just making some character styles, inserting text, typing some text, changing text or character styles for, let's say, things I've already inserted, bringing things in from Word. Let me just go ahead and, you know, it does bug me if I don't like add more stuff here. Let's see. I did place, let's see, documents. Sure, why not? Let's find something else here. Ay, ay, ay. Let's see. Oh, I'll select like a several set of diagrams or something, right? Like these are all done in Illustrator. I can go ahead and place these. I'm gonna go ahead and place more than one at a time, right? So, you know, again, then it's just simply, these are Illustrator files. Let me go ahead and make sure that I resize these the way I need them to be resized. There we go. I'll go ahead and right-click fit content to frame. There we are. I'll do it over here as well. Right-click, fit content to frame, right? That's an extra. I don't need that. You know, here's something fun. I'm going to see if that actually fits, and it does. Here's where I'm actually going to break the rule and actually have this. It's kind of fun. Fit content to frame. And I'll actually have this sort of break the rules and extend outwards or something. Maybe I'd even pull this out so that it would full bleed off to the page and look like it, right? Or whatever. But from here, it's about establishing the rules, populating with the grid. What I'd probably do is pay special attention now to this band of white space here, and especially this edge. So, you know, maybe this is actually a bad idea. I'll move this away. Maybe it's about taking this image and making it fill up to here. Again, fit content to frame, blow that up a bit. I don't know if this will actually fit or not, probably not. Let's see. Fit content to frame, not really. You know, I might have to put that down here and resize it accordingly. Right. And on and on and on. So it's about how to sort of lay these things out in some way, shape, or form. Right? In order to add balance, maybe I just find a way to make this drawing even bigger and take up this space, but then I put a set of photos here of something, right? So I can always sort of, you know, again, this is a design exercise, so you're always going to, you know, create some rules, and then, you know, execute them, and then, you know, fine tune some things and go from there, right? Okay, let's see. Before I open things up to questions, I want to go over two last things, and that is sort of saving, exporting this PDF, and then what to do once I've finished this and I want to package everything up, okay? As you can see, when I go to my links page, everything that I've put in here is still linked, so that Illustrator file's linked, the JPEG's linked. For whatever reason, it doesn't look like the Word document's linked anymore. Maybe it's because I deleted part of it away, I don't know. But, you can always, again, just sort of relink a Word document in here as well. So once I'm happy with this, let me just place a few more things in here. So we can always look at this a little later. Let me find maybe a process image. Hopefully something a little maybe a little wider, like let's see what that is. Can't read it from here. Yeah, that's not so bad. It's like it's a hot mess, but all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this. I'm gonna hold down Shift, you know, just sort of place these things, try to figure out and establish a way to, okay, let me just do that. Do this. I'll go ahead and I'm gonna fit content to frame. Oh, hold on. Fit content to frame proportionally. Fill frame proportionally, there we go. I'll fill frame proportionally. Again, I can always go back in here. You can see the brown background, that's the actual original image. So I can always, you know, position that image within the sort of cropping.
Okay, I'll print you out the stuff for it in a minute. I got the emails for it.
Yeah, someone needs to mute.
Okay, plug that laptop in.
I think I just muted you. Is that Isaac? Sorry, Isaac. I had to mute you. And on and on and on. Okay, so I can go ahead and I don't actually like to leave it like that, but it is what it is. Just place one more thing here. This is always so difficult. Mainly because I don't really want to make a portfolio right now. Here's some CNC milled plywood. Why not? All right. I'll go ahead and adjust this over. Let's see, fitting, fill frame proportionally. And then of course I can always go back in and adjust this accordingly. Maybe it's like that. All right, and so, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and save. You can save as an InDesign file. That's something that you can always open up in InDesign. It doesn't really open up anywhere else. Okay. In order to make a PDF, you can go to File, Export. Okay. File, pull down, Export. When I click on Export, it's going to open up a setting. First of all, it's going to ask me, okay, what do you want to export as? I'm going to pick PDF. In this case, I'm just going to pick print. So I maintain the resolution that I want. I will go ahead and turn this to desktop. Let's see, and I'll name this test. Mick, delete me. All right, there we go. Now I know to delete this later. I'll be like, what the heck is this? And I'll be like, oh, okay, delete. Go ahead and hit save. Now it's going to give me some export settings, okay? And so there's a number of things to remember here. Part of what I would do is leave this as default. If it says high quality print, that's perfectly fine. If it gives you the latest version of Acrobat for compatibility, that's perfectly fine. Make sure it says all, right? Unless you only want to do pages 1 through 9 or whatever it is, okay? I'm going to leave this mostly as default and go ahead and hit export, okay? And it may take a moment, particularly if you have lots of images plugged in here. But I'm just going to look and see where I put this on the desktop. And test Mick delete me, it's right here. I'm going to go ahead and open that up in Acrobat. Okay, so this is the PDF it made. So there's one page, there's the other, right? You can see that the guides don't show up. All of the outlines for the images that it shows in cyan for you, so you can see where the borders are, those don't show up, right? Those are all just visual guides for you as you're laying things out. Okay. You can see typo and everything, my really lousy Project 2 title on the next spread, that's incomplete. I would obviously want to do a better job of laying things out than this, of course. Let's see here. And, one last thing, in Acrobat, when you go to view, you can always say page navigation, sorry, page display. Right now it's on single page view. You could always do 2-page view, right? What that'll do is now it'll preserve the facing pages spread that you wanted to have, let's say for, here's the title page, here's the next spread over. So, here's the left, here's the right hand side. If this was like, say, the spine, if you're thumbing through a book or magazine or periodical or portfolio, right? Okay. All right. So in Acrobat, I went to view settings. That's something that people can change within their own view settings when they're looking at your PDF. Okay. All right. Okay. Then the very last thing, well, after I've saved and after I've exported out as a PDF, the one last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say package, right? So I'm going to file pull down the menu again and find the package option, file pull down package. Here we go. Go ahead and click. What this is going to do is it's going to package the entire publication and put it in one folder directory for you, right? That includes everything that's linked, all images, all Illustrator files, all EPSs, all that stuff. Any fonts that you use will actually be packaged up with this. So if you need to give somebody your InDesign file, you can give them that INDD file, but if they don't have all of these image files, then they won't be able to find them and link them in, so they'll see all the images, right? So by packaging all of this stuff up, what it does is it puts all of those things in one place. Go ahead and say package. Must be saved. Sure, whatever. I'll go to desktop and I'll say InDesign demo. Okay. And I'll save it here. Demo, demonstration, not like demolition. Okay, now it's going to say inside the demo folder, do you want to package this stuff? I'm going to say, sure, why not? Package. Okay. And I'll show you what it produces. I'll drag this over. So what it produced was a demo folder. Here's my original InDesign file that I have open right now. It produced a demo folder with an InDesign file. Then it also produced the template file that's like the universal, like the saved down version. So if you need like to share this with somebody that's using, let's say, CS6 InDesign instead of like 2020 InDesign or 2019 InDesign or something like that, then they can open that up. It PDF'd it for me based off of the last PDF settings used. Then I also have all the fonts that I used in here. So Helvetica TrueType is also packaged up for anybody that wants to open this up on their system and doesn't have that font. And then also the links, right? So all of these images are right here. The Illustrator files, the JPEGs, etc. Okay. And so what that does is then it creates a nice archive of all of your portfolio in one place, okay, that you can back up, right? and it doesn't disrupt this file system you have in place for, let's say, what I did in course, 267 during summer of 2020 versus my 282 course in fall or spring 2021 or whatever else, right? So it sort of makes a copy of all those assets, puts them together um, for you, which is really handy. And it makes it a lot easier to share these things if you need to as well. Okay. So with that, I've done a lot of talking. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for the moment. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.